This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points is sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your Houston area Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
We are ready to rock at NRG Stadium. Watt gets him down this time. JJ with the sack. Rock and roll. Touchdown. Deshaun Watson.
Well, hello, and welcome into Texans Extra Points. What a week it has been. My name is Drew Dougherty. I'm your host, and we've got a lot to get to today, like a Telestrator, keys to a win, players to watch, and helping me out is the great Wade Smith, a Pro Bowl offensive lineman for the Houston Texans, spent about a decade in the league, and we've got a lot to discuss. We have a lot of problems to solve, don't we?
Yeah, man, let's be the problem solvers and get it done.
I like it. We're going to get into that in just a moment, but we start with some news of the week, and for that, it's the Red Diamond Iced Tea Quick Hits and the big news of the week, the Texans moving on and parting ways with head coach and GM Bill O'Brien. He's no longer with the team. He did speak with the media after the decision was made, and he knew it was time.
You know, I knew that something like this could happen. That's the business. You know, you start off like that. But I have tremendous respect. Cal called me, and we had a nice conversation. And you know, I thanked him for the opportunity, and I told him they got a good team here, and they'll turn it around.
Now, on an interim basis, the new head coach is Romeo Crennel. He brings a wealth of experience. He brings 5 Super Bowl rings as an assistant coach, and he brings a new attitude to the locker room.
I have demands. I have standards. I expect them to meet, and I expect it, you know, in the locker room and on the field. And I talk to those guys about it and let them know what it is, so that if there's an issue, if they're not living up to the standard, then they will not be surprised by whatever move needs to be made.
But what do the players think of this move? Number 99 defensive end J.J. Watt, the 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, has noticed a difference in the fan base the last 4 or 5 years, and he wants that to change.
One of the things I'm excited about right now is hopefully getting on the same page with our fan base again. I feel like that's something, there's certainly been a bit of a tension there in the last months and years, and I can't wait to have us all pulling in the same direction again.
So those are Watt's thoughts, and as far as the direction of the offense, well, Deshaun Watson, offensive coordinator Tim Kelly, going to have a big role in that now that O'Brien is gone.
Like I said, we are confident in Tim Kelly. We all have the potential and we have the talent to be very explosive. We just got to put it together. We got to do it 4 quarters. There's flashes where we don't do it the first half, we do it the second half. We do it the first half, we don't do it the second half. Once we put it all together and be explosive, then we can go out there and win some game and put up a lot of points.
All right, so Bill O'Brien is gone. Romeo Crennel is in. The change happens now after 4 games in early October. What does the timing of this change signify to you?
Well, as someone that was here during the 2013 season when Gary Kubiak was let go, I think it was week 13 in the season, you knew you had 4 games remaining in the season. You knew that you wanted to figure out a way to get a win, and I think that's what you're hearing from the various players in the locker room. It's like, hey, there's a lot of negativity going on outside of the building. There's people reaching out to you asking what's going on, how are you feeling? But at the end of the day, there's a game coming up this Sunday, and there's a team that's hungry as well to try to get a win. So you got to refocus your energy on preparing for the Jacksonville Jaguars and getting yourself in a position to go out there and get a W. And I think that's the most important thing for guys right now.
Now, in that same vein, you and I are going to kind of stick down for the trees and not look at the forest. We've got months to talk about who the next GM is, who the next head coach is.
Right.
We're not going to worry about that. Let's just focus on the offense. What does this change mean for Deshaun Watson? I think, because it's fun to hear what some folks from around the league, around Deshaun Watson say, including Quincy Avery, his quarterback's coach. He said, I think this offense can really flourish with Kelly calling the plays and kind of being unencumbered by Bill O'Brien over his shoulder.
Yeah, I would say this. I would expect the offense to play faster. I think the offense is going to utilize more, sugar huddles or no huddles throughout this initial stage of being without Bill O'Brien, because I think that is more of a younger, fresher approach, and I think it does wonders for Deshaun Watson. He's one of those quarterbacks that flourishes in those type of scenarios. So I would expect to see that. I think the overall as an offense, there's not as much, there's not anyone looking over their shoulder, and I think they're going to let loose and just play ball and get the joy and passion for playing football back. And I think that's extremely important, especially when you're playing at the highest of levels. If you have that part in your back pocket, that's going to help you tremendously.
Okay, you just talk about Deshaun Watson liking the sugar huddle, the tempo, the quicker offense. As an offensive lineman, you guys had to love that, didn't you? You were on the attack more, weren't you?
Yeah, anytime that you can be aggressive and dictate to a defense, you love that. You also understand that you'll keep the defense on the field and maybe get them in a scenario where they don't have the personnel they want to defend whatever you're doing at that moment. And so anytime that you can put the defense in a position where they're hesitating, where they're tired because you're on the field for multiple plays and they're not getting the opportunity to sub out, it makes your job that much more easier. And so I would love to see the Texans do that going forward.
So what have you seen so far from the offensive line, and how much of that is even really applicable to what we might see here in the weeks to come?
Well, you've seen the first thing I'd mention is the change at left guard. Senio Clemente, he was rotating in the first couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden now he started the last ball game. I thought he played well. He's stabilizing that position. Laramie Tunsil has been Laramie Tunsil, and the reason why he's been outstanding out there, and that's why he's one of the best, considered one of the best left tackles in the league, and he's showing that. I saw some really good things out of Titus Howard in that game against T.J. Watt. When he played against the Steelers, there's a bunch of times in pass protection where he's putting T.J. Watt on the ground. And that shows that he has a lot of balance and he has a lot of play strength. And so he has to continue to work on being consistent. And he can become one of those tackles in the league that people are looking like, hey, that's Titus Howard. And so when you put all that together, you get guys playing a little bit more aggressive. I think that the group has a high ceiling. And so I'm looking forward to see them kind of reach that. They haven't really shown their abilities to this point. I think they can get there soon.
Yeah, and as we also heard from Romeo Crennel earlier and heard throughout the week, the defense, they can do some things. They got to do some things better. And here's an example of some of the stuff they've done well that they got to keep doing over and over and over again, as John Harris explains in the Telestrator.
Welcome to Texas Telestrator, presented by BMW. I am John Harris, and we're going to take a look at how the Texans have stopped the run. It hasn't been perfect all the way along, but there have been moments, and these are the moments that are teaching moments, because this is the way you can do it going forward against the Minnesota Vikings. So let's go to the surface, powered by Microsoft, and you'll see here the Vikings come out with a bunch set, tight end, and a wide receiver here. So they're in 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends, and they want to run stretch zone this way. So in running stretch zone, they just want to get everybody moving this way. And if it's there, Dalvin Cook will bend that thing back. He's got three things he can do. Take it hard to the outside. He can, bounce at the outside, bang it right off the tackle, or he can bend it back. Bounce it, bang it, bend it. Pick one of those three on the outside zone. Now, if you do things right up front, you take all three of those away. The first one, the bounce, you take away by setting the edge. So let's watch Charles Menahu. Let's see how good an edge he sets. Violent, setting the edge. Cook would have to bounce right there, but he's too far in that if he did, you'd have two guys that could get there pretty easily. So you take away that aspect. All right, what about just hitting it right there? There's Whitney, good violence there. You've got Brandon Dunn working on Garrett Bradbury there. You got P.J. Hall who's beating that block there. So now you've basically kept him from banging it, all right? So what about bending it? Okay, you're taking this away, you're taking this away. Can you take this away? And you get that with P.J. Hall beating that block here. That's going to force Dalvin to start thinking about bending it back. But Brandon Scarlett's key because he stays on his feet just long enough to make that play. Kyle Rudolph tries to cut him low, but you can see Brennan stays on his feet. Cook wants this, but Brennan's not going to let him and make the stop. No gain. It's there, people. You can see. That's how you stop the run. Let's take a look from the end zone view, and you can see it even better. Watch those things. Chuck, set the edge. Witt, take on that block. Brandon, ride it. PJ, beat it. Brennan, come down the line and make a play. Take all three of them away. Good set. Good job here. Look at PJ right there, cutting that back. And there's Brennan to make the play. B-Mac there to fall back if you need it. That's how the run is stopped. That's how it needs to be done going forward. And if that is done going forward, this defense has an opportunity to be pretty good against the run.
Watson gets the snap. He's got time in the pocket, and he airs it out long down the right side, and he's got a man inside the 10-yard line, and guess who? Will Fuller. First and goal, Texans, as Gladney made the stop.
Oh, how we love the deep ball here on Texans Extra Points. We just love it in general. And Will Fuller, look at this stat. It's your next-gen stat powered by AWS. He is in the top 5 in the NFL in yards per target. So they throw the ball to him X amount of times per game. He catches, a percentage of that, but 12.5 yards per target. So when the ball gets thrown his way, he is getting some yardage. Okay, Drew Dougherty, Wade Smith here on Texans Extra Points. We're glad you're back with us. Let's talk about the defense and Romeo Crennel's impact on it. This is Anthony Weaver's defense as a coordinator, right. But the blueprints, the foundation, whatever you want to say, they're there because of Romeo Crennel. We talked a little bit about fundamentals and getting back to the basics, but what more influence does Romeo have on the defense now that he's the head coach?
I don't necessarily see that it'll be anything more because he was the defensive consultant. He's assistant head coach, and Anthony Weaver is part of his discipleship. He learned up under him, and so I don't think you'll see too much different as far just because he's the head coach now. I think that they're going to focus in on the fundamentals like he talked about in the press conference. I think they're going to focus on that part of it, and they need to focus on more making plays as far as creating turnovers. That's something that they haven't been able to do this year yet. So I know it's been non-existent, but I think that I'm sure that they are continuing to work on it in practice, where you're working on punching balls out, working on picking off passes. That's the type of stuff that they need to do. But as far as schematically, I just don't see them making too many drastic changes because on the defense side of the ball, no one has left the building that wasn't here the first 4 weeks of the season.
Yes, and one guy who has flourished against the Jaguars in his time is J.J. Watt. 14 games played in his career against them, 16 sacks, 10 batted passes, 19 tackles for loss. Hey, he kind of was a different man this week when we saw him dealing with the media, much more upbeat. He's probably in that group that's going to play a little bit looser. You think the whole group is going to play a little bit looser, but what might we expect from number 99?
Well, I think that Juwan Taylor, the right tackle for Jacksonville, he's probably going to have nightmares of the past times that he had to go against JJ. And I don't think
he's a good right tackle.
He's a good right tackle, but he struggled against JJ just like a lot of right tackles struggle against JJ. And I expect JJ to have a big performance this week and going forward for the rest of the season. I think the big thing about the defense, we talk about the defense, but if the offense can put the defense in a position where they're playing from ahead, and the defensive line can pin their ears back and get after the quarterback, I think you'll see a lot more of those turnovers created. I think you'll see the defense playing more aggressive. The way that the season has gone to this point, the Texans, I don't think they've been ahead of any ball games. And so if you're playing even or behind the entire time, it changes your approach as a defensive play caller, it changes your approach as a pass rusher or as just a defensive lineman, period. And so that's something I'm looking forward to see. But yeah, JJ, I expect big things of him going forward.
All right, you know the answer to this coming up, so quiet because we've got some trivia to get into. But since the start of the 2011 season, the Texans have swept this series in all but 2 seasons. Which ones are they? We'll have the answer for you later on here on Texans Extra Points. Stick with us.
Watson digs in. Handoff, Johnson running to the right side, trying to find the goal line. Dives in. Touchdown, Houston. Duke for 6.
Ah, yes, Duke Johnson, the power back. I'm gonna stand by it. He's a power back. That was him blasting into the end zone in London in the romp against the Jags last November. Boy, what a difference a year almost makes. That was 11 months ago, basically. But Duke Johnson here on Texans Extra Points. I'm Drew. That's Wade. Wade, let's talk about these Jaguars. They're 1-3. They're not much better than you. Only a game Gardner Minshew, though, he's somebody that I think there's some promise there at quarterback. The situation would be incredibly bleak were it not for him, I think, moving forward this season and moving forward into the future. What have you seen from Minshew so far in 2020 as opposed to what you saw his rookie campaign last year?
I've seen him using a bunch of different weapons. You saw him early on in his career last year, the first game against the Texans, I think he put up 12 points. And then you saw him improve from that game, but then he fell off and eventually he got benched. Well, you look at him this year, he started fast and they're moving the ball, and they lose a guy like Leonard Fournette, you would expect that the offense would take a step back, but they haven't. You know, Robinson at the running back spot, they got the receivers and Chark, and they've been doing a good job of distributing the ball all over the place, and he's been the conductor of the offense. He has good legs, and so that's a part of his game that you have to acknowledge and be ready for. But Gardner Minshew also is a young quarterback, and he'll turn the ball over, and so that's something that the Texans have to focus on this game against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm always going to be a little partial to him because, his last head coach in college was Mike Leach. I hosted Mike Leach's TV show, so, I'm biased. But you mentioned Robinson. He can run the ball. He's averaging almost 5 yards a carry, so there hasn't been a big drop-off from Fournette to him. The drop-off has been on defense, though.
Yeah.
That has been, that unit has just been stripped of all those playmakers. No Calais Campbell, no Yannick Ngakoue. You go through the secondary as well. Jalen Ramsey left mid-season last year. What's going on? Is it simply a matter of talent deficiency right now? They're not getting after the quarterback. They're not getting the turnovers like they usually do.
I think that's a huge factor in it. You're talking about a lack of talent on that side of the ball, and then a lack of veterans. You look at the defense. All the guys that you mentioned are guys that are 5, 6, 7. Calais Campbell, I think he's in his 11th, 12th year in the league.
And he's 9 feet tall.
And he's 9 feet tall. And he's a heck of a football player. And so when you lose guys like that, it's difficult to replace them, especially with young guys that are just figuring it out in the league. And so you're seeing that defense give up a bunch of points, give up a bunch of yards. Texans have to take advantage of that. They do have some good young players there. They still have Miles Jack there. They still have Allen, but they lost another guy like Yannick Ngakoue who's in Minnesota now. So there's a bunch of players that were on that team back in 2017 when they made it to the AFC Championship. It's a far cry from that now.
All right, time for our Gatorade players to watch. And typically we say, who's your Texan to watch? And you can't say Deshaun Watson or J.J. Watt. But when you make a coaching change, here on Texans Extra Points, we lift that rule. Who's your player to watch this week?
And I'm glad you lifted that rule because my person to watch is Deshaun Watson.
Perfect,
no question about it. Listen, we want to see Deshaun Watson play a consistent game from beginning to end, start fast, and he has it in him talent-wise. You've seen what Deshaun has done. If you can get Deshaun playing at his best, that means that the Texans are going to be contenders. And even though they're 0-4 now, and even though it looks bleak, you start winning ball games. You win this one on Sunday, you start stringing some wins together, you can put yourself in a position to compete with anybody. And so Deshaun Watson is the key to this franchise. He's the most important person in the building right now. And so I'm looking forward to see what he does Sunday against Jacksonville.
Me too, because some of his most fun highlights in his career have gone to Will Fuller. That's going to be my Gatorade player to watch. I'm going with number 15. He's having a quietly strong season so far. 2 100-yard games. You saw the next-gen stat about yards per target. I think he gets into the end zone. Let's see him beat some guys deep. Let's see him open things up. He's not just a deep threat. We say that time and time again. He can do it over the middle. And this week we introduced your player to watch. We asked you on Twitter to tweet at Wade and me and say, hey, who's your player to watch? You went with J.J. Watt. That's a good one, too. We lifted that rule. You normally can't say J.J. You normally can't say Deshaun because, hey, we're watching them no matter what. But J.J. Watt is a different man this week in what we've heard and seen in the media. So let's see if that translates to the football field. I'm kind of with you. I think it's going to, and I can't wait to see what happens. All right, don't go anywhere. We've got one more segment of Texans Extra Points when we return.
Texans Extra Points has been sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, by Amagi Bank, official business bank of the Houston Texans, and by Jameson. Tailgate like a Texan with Jameson Irish Whiskey.
Earlier in the show, the trivia question was, the Texans have swept the series since the start of the 2011 season. against the Jaguars. What 2 seasons did they not? 2013, 2017, the only losing seasons for the Texans in the last 10 years. We got Wade Smith. Wade, this is the time of the show where we get into the FCCU keys to a Texans win. So we're here on Texans Extra Points in the Ford Studios. What 2 things do the Texans need to do to get a W?
I think first and foremost, you got to block out all the noise. Understand that now the situation has changed as far as who's the head man in the building, but at the same time, you have a game to go out there and play and a game to go out there to focus on and win. And you have a team that's coming in here that needs a win as well. Their franchise is in a position to where their head coach isn't on the best ground either, and so they're going to come out here with a sense of urgency, so you got to match that. So that's the first key. And then the second thing, I think offensively, I got to see that offense start fast and play a consistent ball game. Give me a 60-minute ball game of consistent play from the offense, and you know what? The Texans are going to put up a bunch of points. You got a lot of talent on that side of the ball. Let's see it go out there and be consistent, but it all starts early on in the game. Let's get a good drive to start it off with.
Excellent stuff. I like both of those. As far as I'm going, let's have some fun. This is still a game. It's a business, I know, but it's still a game. Let's have some fun. Let's see some air guitar. That happens after good plays.
Yes.
So let's see lots of that.
Yes.
Have a great time doing it. Lots of smiles. And that is going to be fun to see, because if you're playing loose and having a good time, usually good things are happening. And then I'm going to drive this plane into the ground until it starts happening. Get more turnovers or get more takeaways than you turn the ball over.
Yes.
Texans don't have a takeaway this year. You got to change that, okay? Get 1 or 2 or 3 or even more. I'm fine with it, and be clean with the ball. You've turned it over every single game. Let's stop that streak on Sunday against the Jaguars. All right, Wade Smith, it's always fun having you in. We're going to have you back in about 3 or 4 weeks if you're up for it.
Oh, no question about it. I always enjoy it.
Love to hear it, my friend. Good stuff as always. Good stuff from you. It's going to be fun to see what the Texans do on Sunday against the Jaguars. It's a whole new ball game. You got 12 more games to go, and the Texans can make some hay. We'll see you later. This has been Texans Extra Points. Go Texans. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.